Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Data-Driven Marketing. Thank you for taking time out and being here today. I'm Emily Park, the marketing manager here at McGraw-Hill, Canada, and I'm excited to be hosting this session in this confusing but interesting time. Before we jump on to today's main topic, I have a few housekeeping items. First, today's 45-minute long webinar is being recorded and will be available on demand a couple of days after this session. As we have very large group today, your lines are muted and the videos are deactivated to ensure the best webinar experience. For the questions, please add your questions on the Q&A box that you can find on the bottom of the screen throughout the session. So my portfolio manager partner, Jade Fair, will get to the Q&A part at the end of the presentation. After today's webinar, you will receive the follow-up email with the webinar recording and the post-survey link. Your feedback and suggestion will be very helpful for us to develop other webinar sessions that suit your interest. All right, without ado, let's jump onto the world of marketing analytics.
So, hello, my name is Joe Hare, and I've been around marketing and marketing academics now for 50 plus years, likely longer than any of you, and likely also before many of you were born. We're living in exciting times today, except for the pandemic, but just because of the pandemic doesn't mean that business stops. Increasingly, businesses have to be more profitable, they have to react quicker, they have to offer more value, but to do so, they have to have knowledge. And we have a lot of knowledge these days because of big information or big data. So we don't have any lack of information, but we do have lots of data. What we do lack, though, is we lack knowledge. In fact, one of the industry authors and specialists said years ago, we're drowning in information and we're starved for knowledge. So we have lots of information, but we need the knowledge so that we can make better marketing decisions. Well, the information, as I think all of you know, because you're tuned into a marketing analytics seminar, has exploded tremendously in recent years. For many years, that information just disappeared. It was too expensive to collect and certainly too expensive to store. But today we have the cloud, and the cloud enables us to store information at very inexpensive prices. That information can be mined and help us to understand, and we can understand some of it with simple statistics. But to understand all that mountain of information, we have to have more complex, more analytical techniques. And if we do, and when we do, we can convert that data into knowledge. And that really is the field of business analytics, and particularly for us marketers, marketing analytics. In fact, industry experts in this field estimate that about 70% of all the applications are in marketing. These applications in marketing help marketers make better decisions, and they make better decisions because of that big data and also because of the analytics methods. In short, what you can really say is that we're living in a new era for business. And we need to make sure that our students are better prepared for the emerging opportunities in this new era. We've written a book on that, and that book, in fact, enables us to share with our students the fact that marketing analytics is very different. It's very different from statistics. They have a generally negative impression of statistics. And what we want to do with our book is share with them our ideas that the data and marketing analytics can be a valuable tool for their future careers, and will enable them to be very successful, or certainly much more successful in the future. It helps them to build critical skills that'll be useful for them, not just today or tomorrow, but in the future. And by the way, one of the things that we forgot to do, and maybe you might want to back that slide up a minute, Haya, is we forgot to introduce ourselves. All right. Well, again, I said I was Joe Hare. We've got a team of very good marketing people and excellent marketing analytics people. And as I start out by saying I've been doing this a long time, I'm currently in the director of a Ph.D. program in marketing management and now business analytics at the University of South Alabama. And we just started that program, and you won't believe it, but we have already over 50 applications for the first year of our program. But I'm working today and have been for a while and will be in the future with a really good team of co-authors to write our book. So Dana, perhaps you'd introduce yourself or Haya next, and then we'll move back to where we were a minute ago.
Go ahead, Dana.
I'm Dana Harrison, and I'm an assistant professor of marketing at East Tennessee State University. I'm currently actually assuming responsibilities as the director of MBA programs as well, but I teach our marketing analytics courses in both our undergraduate, but as well as our graduate programs. And I also recently led the development of our current analytics courses and concentrations that I've been teaching at ETSU now. This is my 11th year, actually. I transitioned from other positions into assistant professor, but I've been there for a while. I've been really fortunate to be there for a while. So, Haya.
And my name is Haya Ajjan. I'm an associate professor of management information systems. I teach business analytics classes at Elon, and I've been there now for 11 years. Actually, my newest responsibility now, I have just become the associate dean as well at the Love School of Business. And prior to that, I also have been really involved in building our master's in analytics program, as well as our undergraduate in business analytics program at Elon. And about 5 years ago, I started and directed the Center for Analytics, where we partner with the industry to bring practical applications for our students. Really a pleasure to be here with you today. Joe?
Okay, great. Sorry for the sequencing that we ran into there. I've been involved in writing textbooks now for a long time, and you probably have seen some of my textbooks and maybe read some of my journals, but the project that we've been involved in for the last year on marketing analytics is one of the most exciting ones that I've ever been involved in. And it's exciting because it's a great field and an interesting field, but it's exciting because I have two co-authors who have really helped me, and hopefully I've helped them to develop another book in an area in the style that I've been writing in over the years to simplify concepts so that our students can understand and apply them. We don't have formulas in our book. We have software, and we have applications, and we have problems, and we have cases, and we have interesting cases and problems. And when we start talking about this area, the students are probably going to be saying, well, you know, will I be able to get a job in this area? And perhaps they don't know nearly as much about marketing analytics as we do. Well, the answer of whether there's going to be a job for them is definitely a resounding yes. There was a recent study that was conducted, and that study identified approximately 850,000 job postings in marketing analytics and marketing skills. And it's a recent study, so it's pretty accurate, but actually it's probably even higher than that, because this area, because of the explosion in data and in marketing and business analytics, this marketing is growing quickly. And of course, the second question they typically ask is, well, what am I going to earn? It's increasingly important in today's environment. Well, the median salary is about $71,000, and that $71,000 is something that can motivate your students, if nothing else, to study marketing analytics. So we are convinced that your students will want to learn something about this area because it will help them so much to be successful in the area. So as I mentioned earlier, our book starts out with the major analytical techniques that are being applied in the marketing arena. And we also include widely applied software, and some of the names you may be familiar with and others you may not be familiar with, but you'll see them on the screen here. We cover in our book Tableau, Python, Data Robot, all the things that the industry experts who are not only doing this every day, but they're sharing with the people who are the recruiters, the things that they will be asking questions about. So in addition to the software, they'll want to know what kinds of cases and examples you're using so that we and they can determine whether our students are truly going to be prepared. So in every chapter, we have examples, and good case studies that will enable you to teach your students and hopefully to engage the students in something that they will actually listen to and focus on and maybe even do some of their homework. In addition, however, you don't have to search for data. We have provided for you data, the instructor, so that you don't have to search for it, and it's on marketing problems and marketing issues. And then we've also shared in the book the analytical techniques, and some of these I'm sure you've heard of, and others of them you may need to either learn a little bit more about or brush up on. But things like cognitive analytics and of course data visualization, but there's social network analysis and neural networking and machine learning and supervised and unsupervised learning. It's all about the topics that you and your students will need to know. And the emphasis, as I pointed out before, is not on statistics and math. It's on what these techniques can do and how they can be applied to interesting marketing problems that your students, we believe, will be interested in. Well, we talk about jobs for students. Who can they get jobs with? Well, big companies in insurance, big companies in communications, big companies in entertainment, big companies in technology, everything from Anthem, Blue Cross Blue Shield, which your students may not know about, but they have probably heard about them. And of course, American Express and other credit card companies, insurance by Aetna, banking, Wells Fargo, and of course, your core technology companies like Apple, Google, Facebook, Amazon. These people are desperate for new positions. I saw a study the other day that there were 100,000 unfilled positions from the last year. So that means not only are there lots of jobs, there are not enough people to fill those jobs. And by the way, in addition to the big companies I mentioned, they're going to need these skills even if they go to work for small and medium-sized companies. So when we talk about the adoption of marketing analytics, the widespread and the force behind the adoption of these is in fact that there's such a huge, tremendous potential for marketing decision-making improvements by the application. Our book can help you to prepare for your courses. It can also help you to communicate to your students why this is truly an exciting new era in marketing and in teaching marketing and learning about the field.
Thank you, Joe. So not long ago, analytics was this highly specialized field for individuals who had in-depth knowledge of maybe mathematical modeling, computer programming, and specialized software packages. But more recently, however, many changes have occurred to make analytics more practical and available to a much larger audience. We're seeing that with the increased adoption across industries, as Joe was saying, but also within disciplines. So Harvard Business Review published an article just a few years ago now on the thought of a business translator, where the purpose is to bridge the technical and operational expertise between data scientists and areas such as marketing. And then McKinsey & Company actually suggested that by 2026, there would be this need for about 2 to 4 million business translators, those that have that both that discipline knowledge, but also those analytical skills. So the increase in these types of discussions that we're seeing have really probably helped fuel this trend that you're seeing here on your screen, where a Google Trend search actually shows the increasing interest in marketing analytics over time as compared with searches for other disciplines, such as in human resources, financial, and also supply chain analytics. So marketing analytics is one of the fastest growing fields of analytics applications. In fact, McKinsey & Company suggested that the main use area of analytics would actually be in the area of marketing. Marketers are finding that insights from analytics increase company performance, as Joe was mentioning earlier, through various marketing capabilities, such as the areas of pricing, product development, channel management, marketing communications, and also selling. Gartner recently conducted a study with CMOs, and one of the questions they asked was actually about how their marketing budget was being allocated for different programs or in different operational areas. And results showed that 16% of their budget was actually spent on marketing analytics. And then when asked about the top capabilities that they considered most critical in supporting their marketing strategy over the next 18 months, 32% indicated that marketing analytics was a necessary capability. So due to the growing need by companies for employees to possess the knowledge and skills related to analytics, universities are increasingly integrating these analytics into the curriculum, which is kind of what Haya and I and Joe, started doing a few years ago, but we're really seeing that now across the board. Thanks, Haya. So we recently conducted interviews with actually 20 business executives regarding analytics and ethics. They suggested that one of the most significant contributors of ethical issues is actually the lack of a formal process when beginning the analytics projects. We get really excited about the possibilities of these beneficial outcomes, and then we often don't understand, or we maybe even overlook the potential implications. In our textbook, we actually introduced a framework to help bridge the gap between the needs of the market, connecting these business problems or these business objectives with actually the outcomes or the potential implications. These are the types of understanding that employers are really demanding and what students need to know for their future careers. This allows students the opportunity to comprehend how each step is important and connected. We emphasize an understanding of the business, where they learn to ask and they develop questions that might be critical for improving performance. Then students gain an understanding of the data source, maybe what that data set contains and what questions can be answered. And then they move on and also explore potential issues with ethical concerns such as potential bias. Next, students explore the data through a theoretical basis of analytical techniques, and then they're introduced to tools frequently used by practitioners, like Joe was suggesting earlier, Tableau, RapidMiner, that are best suited in that situation. But finally, they learn to interpret and communicate those insights to an audience where they can apply analytics results within the context of marketing decisions. And this framework is developed in a way that students learn to tell a really cohesive story about the process and formulating strategic suggestions for a business. Thank you, Haya.
All right, thanks, Dana. So you heard earlier from Joe kind of the topics that we are covering in our book, and we're really excited to offer you with kind of the topics as Dana was discussing how we interviewed a lot of executives and we learned what were the important topics. Also, we talked about practitioners on the field who do the work every day in and out. We did a lot of analyses as well of survey results that were out in the market to kind of determine what were the topics that would really help prepare your students for the future. And these are the topics that we have actually put together for you in the book. We start, like Dana talked about, with that data analytics framework. How do you ask the right business questions? How do you interview your stakeholders in order to get to what the real problem is? And then taking that data and that knowledge and putting it and framing it into a way that allows you to do a hypothesis testing. And then we take the students through the cycle that Dana was talking about. But in doing that, there were other skills that were really critical, kind of to help the students get through this framework that Dana presented, such as data management. We know that today, if you look at job postings, one of the positions that has always been requested is something that has to do with data wrangling, bringing data from different sources, organizing the data from the SQL database, for example, into a format that then can be analyzed further. So data management is a really important topic. And the surveys that we have reviewed talked about SQL skills. So we also have a case study that covers SQL. Then we move students through data exploration. And in doing that, we talk about the importance of data visualization to understand the ins and outs of your data, to understand the outliers, but also to understand the story that you're trying to tell with your data. So here we introduce students to cognitive analytics. It's actually an IBM tool that allows us to explore relationships in the data without really being programmed or pre-programmed. So allowing students to see, for example, how Watson works within that framework. And then we take students into a data visualization tour in Tableau. Tableau is a data visualization software that allows us to tell build storyboards within our system, and then tell really coherent story about what the data descriptive statistics are. So we walked students through an example. And in fact, for this particular chapter, what we did is we have partnered with a local company, our national company is called Red Ventures, that is focused on digital marketing. And they provided us with data that their analysts kind of work with every day. So we can see or show the students how working with a large set of data actually is, and how they can take that data and actually present it in a visualization tool. Also, another thing about that particular tool and that particular case study that I was just mentioning, something that is really exciting is that this particular company, usually when they interview students, they give them a similar data set to basically work with and then visualize. And we're helping students prepare for that mindset of what companies are expecting now in interviews. Then we take students through supervised learning. We talk about regression analysis, neural networks, because we know how deep learning and deep networks are becoming more and more important. So we demystify that. You heard Joe earlier talk about that we don't have that many equations. We actually demystify mathematics into something that kind of is applicable. So we explain to students how also automated machine learning works. And we know that this is an area, again, that is continuing to grow from an application perspective. And then we walk through unsupervised learning, and we talk about cluster analysis and market segmentation and how you can build an RMF model for your customers. And we do that again within a case study and really an exciting case study actually for that particular exercise. And then we have market basket analysis, explaining to the students how, when they're on a website, how two products are being recommended to them, or as they're shopping for one, how another product is being recommended. We explain the dynamics behind that and how it works. And finally, we have topics that are advanced analytics. So text mining, we know today 80% of the data out there is this unstructured data, that much of it is in text format. So we take that, we demystify it again, and we explain to the students how they can take text and analyze it and really draw insights from that. Then we walk through the students through a social network analysis as well, explaining to them how you can find influencers in a network. So a lot of tools today kind of tell you that this person is an influencer, but we actually walk students through social network analysis to explain to them how that's calculated and how that's usually figured out. And finally, Google Analytics continues to be such an important topic in marketing and in digital marketing. So we walk students again through an exercise that is related to Google Analytics. So a lot of exciting topics. We've put a lot of thought in kind of determining that these are the topics that were of interest to hiring managers and executives, but also that would kind of really help our students be very competitive in the marketplace. And in that work that we have done, in the research work that we have done, we have looked at multiple surveys that are done with the data analysts and data scientists. And so one of those surveys was actually published by KD Nuggets, which asked, like, which software are you using now in order to work through your analytics problems. And you see that Python is on the rise. There are tools like RapidMiner, and Excel remains that topic here, as well as Tableau. And like you heard us talk about before, that we actually touch on several of these tools, because the mindset that we want to teach our students is that we have a toolbox approach to marketing. There's no one tool that's going to solve all your problems. There are different tools that you need to know in order to optimize the solution for the problem that you're handling. So this is something that definitely is the culture, I guess, that we're trying to infuse in our work as well, in our book, and that's how we teach our students. So the book introduces the students to several software, as you heard us talk about, and this is an example of some of these softwares. We walk students, by the way, all these softwares are available at no cost for the students. So they have academic license that allows you and your students to get access to them at no cost. This was definitely something that we have thought very intentionally about. But you see the software go from like something like RapidMiner, where you can build a predictive model that's supervised or unsupervised, to Python that we know that works really well with natural language processing. So introduce students to that, to things like DataRobot, which is a growing automated machine learning tool that has great support for academics. So again, we kind of put this collection for you based on all the research that we have done. We have very engaging case studies, but beyond case studies that we have in our book, we also interviewed experts. So we have interviewed executives at companies like Starbucks and Teradata, but we also introduced fresh graduates who just have been working in the field for about a year or two. From large companies to small companies, you have SAS, for example, being interviewed, and like I said before, Starbucks and Teradata, but you also have like startup companies that are more new in this field, but are doing some really exciting things. And we asked them questions about that we think are very relevant for our students, whether it's about career in marketing analytics, or really how they do the work that they do every day, just to give the students kind of a peek into that. But we kind of follow this, I guess, a process from explore, dive, and create for our students throughout the book. We help them explore how the topic is, like, let's say neural network is actually being applied in practice. And then we dive deep to understand how a neural network works. And then at the end, the students actually have to create a neural network model. So through that, we have a data set, like you heard us talk about before, that we provide to the students. Then the data set is actually not like a lot of books, textbooks, they clean the data set to a point where the students really, when they go into practice, they're shocked that the data doesn't look as organized and clean. But we have made it intentional that we provide data sets like the ones that are actually being used in practice. So this is something as well that is a distinctive, I guess, signature in the book. I think, Dana, you wanted to talk about syllabi and resources.
Yes, so I mean, the textbook was designed from basically our trial and error over the last several years. I think the positive thing is that whether it's the syllabi that we can provide you or the case studies that are in the textbook, these have really been tested and refined in our own classes over literally the last probably 3 to 5 years. But we've developed several syllabi that will actually accompany the textbook. And for example, we have a syllabus that allows you to cover the entire textbook in a single course. Then we have actually broken this down to 2 additional syllabi where you have a limited coverage option that provides sort of that introductory, those introductory elements, but then we actually have a sort of more advanced topic option as well. And you'll be able to see that in the textbook, sort of how that might play out, but we also have the syllabi for you if you are interested in breaking those up. I've actually, and I think Haya and Joe have as well, we've used all 3 situations in a class. So we've tested all of them out in various classes. And sometimes I teach a marketing analytics, research and analytics course, and I do that introductory version in that class. And then we have a more advanced class that I use the other syllabus in. And then sometimes I use the larger syllabus for maybe like an MBA course or something like that. So we also have several upcoming webinars on teaching marketing analytics for faculty. We actually offer these webinars through the Society for Marketing Advances and also the Academy of Marketing Science. So I'm unsure if you're familiar with those 2 organizations, but we do have some upcoming webinars in March as well as May. And in those webinars, we actually discuss areas such as how to design an analytics curriculum, maybe integrating elements into existing courses, designing dynamic environments to really overcome student resistance to these quantitative courses, as Joe and Haya were mentioning earlier. is somewhat of a barrier sometimes. And you'll also have the opportunity to learn about advanced tools and techniques to use in class. So some hands-on opportunity there with some guided instruction from us as well. And so finally, we're always available if you do have any questions. We have our emails there on the screen, so please feel free to email us anytime if you do have a question. We really, really enjoy connecting with other faculty.
And I think one thing to add to this is that Dana and I have already met with several faculty who are interested in introducing this in their curriculum. And we really enjoy those connections. And with one of them, we're about to start a research project too. So if this is something of interest to you, we would love to connect. I think one thing that we wanted you to kind of, or maybe invite you to kind of think with us about this commitment to continuous learning. This area is evolving really rapidly, even in our time as we're writing the book, because we had several cloud tools. The interface was changing like a few months after we have actually gotten it done and ready. So I think this is an area that we want to encourage our students to think about their career as a continuous learning opportunity for sure. It's an exciting career. It's something that we are committed to as faculty who are teaching in this field, but also we would love to teach our students that. This is it for us. We would love to take your questions and answer them. And what I will do now is I'm going to actually stop sharing my screen so we could as well read your questions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Haya. Thank you, everyone. And I believe you are still in the beginning phase of introducing the marketing analytics course to our Canadian students. And I believe you have quite a bit of a question planning for your courses. So please make sure that you type in your questions onto the Q&A and then chat. And I think this is time for Jade to give us some questions.
Yeah, we have one question for you guys. So someone that's interested in expanding on avoiding bias in data analytics and data sets, and how are you guys addressing that, or any suggestions? So Haya, it sounds like you're.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, because actually Dina and I right now are in the process of as well writing a paper about AI and ethics. And she mentioned earlier how we have interviewed executives and we have talked to them actually about AI and ethics. And this is an issue that a lot of companies are yet still trying to figure out how to work with. But we, in the textbook in particular, we kind of walk students through the process, the framework for analytics. And there are certain questions that we feel we should be asking about the data and the impact that the data has. In one of our interviews with an executive at a banking company, he was telling us how most developers, all they're thinking about is like optimizing the model results and not thinking about the biases that come in the data. So our role, I think, is to teach our students to ask the right questions. How would this model be used later on? Are there any gender biases? Is there, like, even when you're running your descriptive analyses, is there enough diversity in the sample that I'm actually training my model on, that it's going to be later on captured and will not be discriminating against a group. So we do invite students to think about that in the book, and it's an area that's evolving and will continue to evolve. Even in our research work right now, we did not see a lot of work in that area. So we would love to continue to contribute to that for sure.
Awesome. And then we have another one just about where you see this textbook being more applicable in college versus university level, and how it kind of straddles those two spans, and where you see it fitting, or if it can be customized to kind of tailor to those needs.
I think it can definitely be customized. And I think that's part of what we've done with breaking up the syllabi. So we have that one syllabus that's more of that introductory mode, but then we have the more advanced mode as well. But I think once you get into it, you'll also see that the chapters are really laid out so that you can provide an introductory lesson and give them, you have step-by-step instructions for the case studies and walking through the technologies, but you can really create a more advanced version of the exact same chapters. And that's what I've been doing, and I'm sure Haya and Joe as well, in our classes, because I actually teach this and use this material at both an undergraduate level, but also a graduate level.
Let me comment a little bit about the level of the text. It's written at a level that is relatively easy to understand. And I would envision this book being applicable at the undergraduate level, probably in the third year, perhaps in the fourth year at the undergraduate level, but also at the master's level. As far as college level, I'm interpreting that at the junior college level. What I would say is there may be some junior colleges who might offer a course like this, but to my knowledge, the junior colleges are not yet moving into this arena. So I think primarily, probably as much as 95% or more of this would be bridging the gap with both higher level courses in marketing at the undergraduate level, but also perhaps even as an introductory elective at the master's level.
And just to mention, just to piggyback on what Joe was saying, actually, Haya and I one of the conversations that we had probably right around beginning of December timeframe was from a junior college or a community college here in the United States. So we actually had a conversation with them on maybe what they could be using in their classes, because they were sort of charged with developing an analytics course themselves, a marketing analytics course. So we had a conversation with them on maybe what to do in terms of, what they could offer in their classes, what their students would understand, and really what would maybe empower them to even be interested in it beyond that.
Wonderful, thanks. Yes, a little bit of different terminology with our college university here in Canada, but that does make sense. And then another question, do you discuss the ethical dilemmas of predictive analytics at all?
I think we get on the edge of that, but there will be cases available on that topic as a supplement to the book. So it's not a central component of the book itself, but for those individuals who want to cover that in more depth, yes, there will be teaching materials available and focusing on those kinds of ethical dilemmas.
And just remember that these ethical dilemmas, like Haya was saying, there's really ethical dilemmas in each step of the process. And that process is from the very front end of the business understanding through the data understanding and what data you have to deal with and what biases might exist. So really, this is something that's integrated throughout each process. And I think that's really what it is important for students to understand. And what Haya and I have really discovered from these interviews from these executives as well, sort of that's the concern that they have as well, is, starting and formulating that process and working with that process in terms of the analytics portion, not just diving into the data and finding out what insights it might be able to provide. So I think that ethics where it may not be sort of the focus of the textbook, I think we have to remember with our students to really integrate those in each step of the process.
Great, thank you. And then what are other ways to get Gen Z more interested in data analytics? I know you guys spoke about that a little bit, but yeah, Haya, if you want to.
Yeah, I think one thing that we did in this book, like our first case study that we do in chapter 2 is about avocado toast. So like we tried really to focus on topics that we think and we actually ran it by our students as well to kind of make sure that it's things that they would be interested in. Other topics that we had in the book were things that have to do with health, electrical cars. So we like healthy food. So we tried really to get like cases that we think they would be interested in, kind of solve problems that we think they would be interested in solving. And then we walk them through a tool that's really sophisticated to kind of solve that problem that we're in. And we have step-by-step instructions. So it's not frustrating, right? Like sometimes steps are skipped, but this is very easy to follow. So they really feel by the end of it kind of accomplished and feel like they have solved the problem, have a number, and then making sense of that number. So and then Joe mentioned earlier how the language that we use in the book is very simple as well to kind of really attract the attention of a wide variety of audience. So we really hope that Gen Z will find the topics and the cases that we have put together fun and exciting, and also, of course, educational.
Awesome, wonderful. I know we had to lose Joe there for a little bit. He's got an appointment to get to. But we did have one more question, and I think it's more for Emily, just about how to get a desk copy. And I'll just mention, again, this is authored for the US, and there is no Canadian adaptation as of yet, but we have had the discussions about kind of what is the Canadian content that's needed, and how we kind of shift to meet the needs of all of you guys that are on this call. So that's something we'll definitely be exploring more, and would love some feedback from everyone that's on this call. But yes, absolutely, desk copies are available for the US edition, and Emily can speak to that.
Yeah, for sure. I'll take that question. So of course, you can reach out to your local account manager if you know them, or if you don't know who they are, you can find your account manager using this tool. I'm adding the URL to the chat. So just click this and then you will be able to find your account manager and then connect with them. Very simple. Yeah. Is there any more question, Jade?
No, I think that's it.
Actually, I have one question.
Sure.
There are a lot of Canadian instructors who are revamping their marketing analytics courses right now. So is there any kind of a suggestion or advice where to start?
I think honestly, you can contact either Haya or I, and in terms of our, using our email. We have both been through this exact same process. We both started developing classes originally, and then really revamping all of our curriculum at the undergraduate level and the graduate level. So if you do have any questions, we're genuine in terms of you contacting us. We really would like to connect with you. We really enjoy that. It's probably the best part of our job, is being able to connect with so many people. And so we really like that, as being faculty, we're fortunate to be able to connect with people all over the world. And so please do reach out to us, because we do have that experience, and we will share anything that we've developed. You can have my syllabi, you can have my my proposals that I developed for the curriculum. So, I mean, we'll share whatever we can to help you.
All right, very good. Okay, I think we are getting to the end of today's webinar. So thank you, Joe, Haya, and Daya, and thank you everyone for your active participation. Before you go, I would like to remind that McGraw-Hill is here for you. At the moment, we are facing so many unknowns. So as a trusted partner, we would like to help you with building your marketing analytics courses. Please reach out to us if you need any help with your marketing analytics course. All right, I'll wrap up today's webinar right now. So see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Thank you, Daya. Thank you, Haya. Thank you, Jade.